something that I really do love and I miss it and I want it to come back. I'm talking none other than about Twisted Metal. Now, for those of you who don't know, Twisted Metal was a car combat battle royale series that started in 1995 for the original PlayStation and went all the way until 2012 when their last series entry was made. And ever since 2012, it hasn't had another game. It hasn't had barely any news. Like, at one point there was like supposed to be like a TV show, but
all right, turn that music down. Anyways, for those who have been on my channel for a while, or those who are fairly new, back in 2020, I started a video segment called Justin Talks About, which has become my main formula on this channel ever since October 21st, 2020. The first thing I had ever talked about when it came to the beginning of all these discussion videos was a game series that I hold near and dear to me, called Twisted Metal. As 2020 Justin just said, Twisted Metal was a car combat series first released on the PlayStation 1 in 1995. Anyways, hey everyone, Justin Dark here, JD, Twisted Dark Justin, as in that video I was called Twisted Dark Justin before I changed for the simplistic Justin Dark. Today I'm gonna make a sequel to my first discussion video, at least as far as I know is my first discussion video, called Talking About Twisted Metal. I've made a few videos discussing Twisted Metal on this channel. I've made Talking About Twisted Metal. I made one where I was talking about Twisted Metal Harbor City because new footage came out about it. Then I made a follow-up to that one. I made a video talking about the wasted potential of Twisted Metal 4's characters and how I would have rewritten them, which was one of my most anticipated videos for a while to, share, like, hey, Twisted Metal 4 isn't bad, the characters could use some tweaking. That was the point of that video. Twisted Metal has been my favorite video game series since I was a kid, It's one of the very few games that I play now that I played back then. Back when I was a kid, I played Banjo-Kazooie, Spyro the Dragon, Crash Bandicoot later on, Medieval, but I don't play those regularly anymore. The only series I still like so much, and I really do love it, and I hold it to my heart, is Twisted Metal. Out of all the games I played as a kid, Twisted Metal was probably was more on the adult side of things. Spyro was a lot more kid-friendly with the purple dragon that would shoot fire, and, it's cartoony and funny, and with Banjo-Kazooie, the same thing. Cartoony, animals, adventure-ish. Twisted Metal, on the other hand, was more of a dark series. The first game wasn't really dark, but man, it was a lot more like, adult feeling. It was about this man named Calypso. Every year on Christmas Eve, he would hold a contest called Twisted Metal, where people would drive around in arenas and shoot each other. And whoever was the last man standing would get one wish, anything they want. But usually when Calypso grants a wish, there's a monkey's paw twist. Which, that's pretty much the inspiration. Basically, that means someone wishes for something, say you wish for, all the money in the world. Yeah, he'll probably give it to you in pennies. In fact, that pretty much happened in one of the games. Yeah, he will twist your words if you're not specific, or like, oh, give me the ability to fly. Yeah, he'll give you the ability to fly, and then you jump off the building and you find out, oh wait, he bought you first class plane tickets. He didn't give you he gave you the ability, but not what you think. It was a really, really clever way of storytelling. A man with demonic powers holds a contest, and whoever wins, and each character has their own individual ending. And Twisted Metal was a great series. The first game, though, I will say, I don't like it much. I know, the first Twisted Metal game, I freaking don't like it much. The thing I like about it is the characters. The characters and the stories are good. They're pretty good. Even the Lost Endings, which they got cut for a reason, but when they released them, I'm like, God, I kind of like this. It's kind of charming, but Twisted Metal 1, from a gameplay standpoint, it's awful. Like, when you get rammed, you could, if you're playing as Darkseid, or so if you're fighting Darkseid, Darkseid will kill you. Bro, the RAM damage is unforgiving. It's like awful, the controls are clunky, but we all start somewhere, right? It's kind of like with my stories, and my first story, or Overdosed. As far as the writing goes, it wasn't really as well done compared to later entries, you know? But Twisted Metal 1, despite its flaws, I like it, and it started a good series, you know? And believe it or not, David Jaffe didn't think this series would pop off, but no. It was a good PlayStation game, and they made a sequel about a year or so later. Twisted Metal 2, which is considered the best game in the franchise by most of the fans. I disagree. I know, so controversial not to like Twisted Metal 2, because it's given so much credit for what it did. It's not a bad game. It's a lot better than Twisted Metal 1. The gameplay's a little bit better. The characters, I do prefer, like Darkseid over Shadow, Yellow Jacket over Twister and all that, Crimson Fury, and Pit Viper over Grasshopper. I love Pit Viper. Grasshopper, why did they change Pit Viper, man? I like Pit Viper better. But Twisted Metal 2 is not my favorite. I still think it's kind of hard. Like, I know I shouldn't complain about a game being too hard, but I can't beat the game without cheats. I shouldn't have to resort to that shit, man, you know. I shouldn't have to resort to freaking the game, having to freaking beat a game with cheats. That's a problem in some of the games I played. You have to use cheats just to beat it, because it's so hard, so unforgiving if you lose, and Twisted Metal 2, there's no save system, so if you die, you have to start all the way back. Imagine if you're, like, at the 7th level, which is, like, Holland, and all the characters just kill you. Or even in the final level, Hong Kong, that you die from Darktooth. And if you don't remember that code that's on the screen, you're screwed. Back before the internet, people had to write those damn codes down. Remember that? Remember how that used to be? But now we got the internet. But back then, they didn't have the internet for that. But anyway, Twisted Metal 2, just because it's praised so much, it's not my favorite. It's not the best. I like it, but it's not the best. Twisted Metal 3, I've given credit to Twisted Metal 3 before, but it just, Twisted Metal 3 is the first game that wasn't developed by the developers of the first two. It's developed by a company called 989, and they mainly made racing games and shit. But Twisted Metal 3, it's not that great neither. I do like it a little bit better than 2, only because it's slower, but at the same time, it's just the cars feel like they're driving on ice, they flip over too much, and it takes too long to flip back on your, you know. What I like about Twisted Metal 3 is some of the ideas they had, you know, obviously, with like Firestarter and Club Kid and Augur. Some of the characters were decent. I didn't like Flower Power, and Primeval needed something. Primeval deserves more than what he got. You know, he was a final boss character, but, bro, who was part Primeval? Was he like some demon that Calypso had control over? What if that was like Black? I have Black sitting over there. Yeah, I built like a demon thing, and, you know, his name is actually Sam, Mr. Fear, Samuel Fear. But he's pretty much like my Calypso Black thing. But anyway, back to Twisted Metal 3. It's not good neither. It's not that great. But I like some of the ideas they had. Twisted Metal 4, on the other hand, just because the ideas of the characters were wasted, the gameplay was what makes it shine. Twisted Metal 4, believe it or not, is my second favorite Twisted Metal game. And it was my first I ever played. Back when I was a kid, I didn't have the other Twisted Metal games till later on when I found out there was more. Well, I should have known, because Twisted Metal 4 was 1, 2, and 3. I eventually got those games, but Twisted Metal 4 is my second favorite. I know the fans are like, oh, the game is too, the characters are stupid. The characters are really bad, you know, and they're like, I agree with that. I agree that Twisted Metal 4's characters are really bad. Maybe not as bad as Twisted Metal 3's, but Twisted Metal 4's, at least they made their own characters though. Twisted Metal 3, like I've always said, Twisted Metal 3 is just taking the characters from Twisted Metal 2 and then mocking them. Like Roadkill, they fucked them up real bad. Axel, they fucked them up too. They turned him into a what? Like, what the fuck? What are these endings? But in Twisted Metal 4, they made their own characters, and some I thought had a lot of potential. The only one that actually reached his full potential was Orbital. I think our Orbital could even work in Twisted Metal Black, which I'll get to that game. But a lot of the characters, they have potential to be better. Like, Pizza Boy, I didn't like him because he was annoying. I don't know what the fuck he was trying to say. I'm gonna trick that coot rat in my home chromie, homie. And all my frizzle shits were like, what the fuck are you saying, Eminem? But bad. But Pizza Boy had potential. I remade him into a character named Connor Yang. It's pretty much like what I would want for Pizza Boy, you know, but Mr. Goggle Eyes is another character I really thought had potential too. And I made a character named Mr. Goggles to pretty much, you know, be a reimagining of Goggle Eyes. Goggle Eyes has potential as a character, but they keep wasting the characters. Like, yeah, Twisted Metal 4 didn't have that many characters that were, like, good, but there were some pretty good ones there, but a lot of them were, like, Trash Man, Joneses, Drag Queen. Yeah, a bit crappy. Even Meter Maid, kinda crappy. But Twisted Metal 4's gameplay was awesome. Like, the game was not too hard, but not too easy. It was a good mix of both. And this is the only Twisted Metal game at this point where, like, if you beat the game, you get all the characters. No Game Shark exclusives like in Twisted Metal 3 with Darkseid and Primeval, which was stupid. They should have had Darkseid as, like, a hidden character instead of Sweet Tooth, but... Or like no freaking hidden boss like Darktooth where you can't play as them. Like Twisted Metal 4, once you beat the games, every single boss is playable. Even Sweet Tooth, who is overpowered in that game. Sweet Tooth, oh my god, as a kid, I was terrified of Sweet Tooth. When he'd shoot his special weapon, scary, man. These days, I'm still kind of afraid to fight Sweet Tooth. If I play the game on my emulator, it's kind of hard to fight him. But I'm a lot better now. I've been playing that game for years, so I'm pretty much a professional. I barely die. Like, it's pretty good that I'm able to play Twisted Metal 4. And Twisted Metal 4 is my second favorite. I don't care if, like, the characters aren't, you know, good. You know, it's the game that really, the gameplay that shines, and the characters had a lot of potential. But, moving on, Twisted Metal Small Brawl. That's my least favorite in the series. I know some people actually like the game. I've seen a guy who talks about Twisted Metal... Kongdu. Yeah, Kongdu. He made a video talking about like some Twisted Metal games. Him and like Tactical Bacon Productions. I've been watching those two for like Twisted Metal content. So 72 Winnebago's not really a thing anymore. I remember it was Winnebago. But anyway. He said Twisted Metal Small Brawl is like one of his favorites. And I see why. You know, it's not a bad game at all. It's just my least favorite Twisted Metal game. The gameplay is just like Twisted Metal 1 and 2, but really slow. I know they're RC cars, but dang, dude. They slide around really slow. You try to turn right, but you end up going left sometimes, you know. Twisted Metal Small Brawl is just not my favorite, and conceptually, it's like... kind of like the Muppet Babies of Twisted Metal. Like, you have the Muppets, right? Then you have the Muppet Babies. Small Brawl was meant to be like Twisted Metal, but kid-friendly. But it was still rated T, you know. But... it wasn't a bad game, it was just my least favorite, okay? Like, I think that and Twisted Metal 3 are my least favorites, and Twisted Metal 1. But Small Brawl, I kind of liked it, you know, I kind of like some of the new characters. Mime, Piecemeal, and Trapper, oh my god, I like all three of them. Mime, I think, could have been a little bit better, but then again, these characters didn't have stories. And that's another thing I like about Twisted Metal, if there's characters that don't have a story, you can use your imagination, like with Moonbuggy and Twisted Metal 4. I like to imagine he's a freaking evil alien. He's like the evil version of Quattro. Or some shit. Evil Emperor. With Twisted Metal Small Brawl, it's the same thing. Piecemeal, Mime, and Trapper. I like to imagine that Trapper is some kid who likes to go hunting. Like Catfish from Twisted Metal Head On. I think Trapper would have been like a hunter kid. Like the kids across the street that would shoot their guns. Yeah, that happens. And when you live in the South, or the Southern Hemisphere, really, yeah, there are a bunch of rednecks that run around and shoot stuff. I'm not a redneck, but I see them. Anyway, back to the characters. Mime could also be like, you know, like a girl that wants to be in Hollywood when she grows up. Kind of like Ken Masters, but as a kid. And it's a girl. Apparently Mime's a girl. Mime was... described as like a actress, so I think it was a girl that likes to mimic people. And Piecemeal, I could imagine Piecemeal being like freaking mad doctor kid who like takes cars and combines them. That's pretty much what Piecemeal was. It was a scavenger, a collector, maybe even like a freaking it just seemed like a cool idea. But Small Brawl, not my favorite. Now Twisted Metal Black is my favorite. I've been replaying that game lately. Twisted Metal Black is my favorite. The stories and the gameplay, awesome. The gameplay is a little bit hard and not forgiving too, but I can move past that because I've been playing it lately, and I'm actually pretty good at the game now. I'm currently working on a story mode with Brimstone. I'm on, usually when the game gets hard is after the minion boss fight. Level 5, the prison passage, and onward. It gets hard, but I've beaten the game with about 7 characters so far. Brimstone is number 8, but Twisted Metal Black... My name is Justin Dark. You know my stories have a pretty dark tone? Yeah. So you can imagine how I love Twisted Metal Black for its story. It's very gloomy and depressing environment. The gameplay is like really fast and pretty violent. The cutscenes, oh my god. Some of the characters in the game feel like they came straight out of a goddamn horror movie. I'm not kidding. Dollface is a girl who had like her freaking doll mask locked onto her face by her crooked boss. The preacher was a guy who murdered a baby and killed people in the church because he was under demonic possession. Crazy 8 or No Face, he's a guy who was a boxer. He was punched so many times and he went to a quack doctor that freaking took his eyes and tongue out and sewed him. Like, what the fuck? And don't even get me started on Mr. Grimm. Mr. Grimm, oh my god. He's usually the Grim Reaper in Twisted Metal. In Twisted Metal Black, he's a Vietnam War veteran that was captured by the Vietnamese, put into a hole to starve, and he was given a knife and he was told, hey, if you want to eat what you got. And his friend was in the hole with him, and his friend died. So basically, Mr. Grimm was forced to eat his best friend. He was forced to eat his best friend. And he put his best friend's skull on his head as a helmet, and Mr. Grimm became a cannibal. That is disgusting, that is sickening, but God, it's so good. And Sweet Tooth, this is the best interpretation of Sweet Tooth. Instead of a crazy circus clown or an insane asylum patient, no. Sweet Tooth is a mass murderer. He was put on death row for all the people he killed. He put in an electric chair. The preacher actually put a curse on him, and he had flames coming out of his head, and he was pretty much locked in the asylum for life. The game's story is great. There's one character I do want to talk about real quick because I have a really good appreciation for him, and some of the hidden characters, like the rest of the hidden characters, Warthog, Axel, Manslaughter, and Yellow Jacket, their stories had to be cut down because of budget. So, you know, it sucks how, like, you know, only Yellow Jacket has an intro movie, but Axel deserved one. Manslaughter may have needed one, Warthog, but no, they don't have endings. But there's a character I kind of want to talk about real quick, then I'll move on to the rest of the games. And then I will just ramble more about Twisted Metal, because I love the series. There's a character in Twisted Metal Black, he's the driver of Warthog, his name is Cage. This is his ending. Like, this is one of the cut down endings that were, you know, tight budget, so you could tell it's cheaper. We're using shots and shit, so.
I had won the contest. I went to Calypso and demanded my prize. I wanted him to remove the part of my brain that...
And real quick, but before I show the rest...
made me so sad whenever...
Notice this shot right here. This is pretty clear that, I mean, this looks good, but you know what's the problem with this freaking shot is? That's supposed to be Cage, right? That one shot, however, is reused from Crazy 8's ending. That is actually No Face turned around because him and Cage look similar. They're bald and wear a coat. So yeah, they reused the shot from No Face's ending, but then when the ending plays,
I wanted to become the best killer there ever was.
And you notice that doctor right there? They reused footage. They reused footage from Crazy 8's ending. That's the doctor that put the thing, took Crazy 8's face messed up Crazy 8's face. This ending reused a lot of shots, and then you notice the picture of Cage. Yeah, the ending for Twisted Metal Black's hidden characters, they were obviously cut down. It looks like a bunch of concept art that they put a bunch of filters on and put voiceover and called it a day. Because, yeah, these endings were cut down due to the budget. It sucks, though. Because the hidden characters are interesting. Warthog's one of my favorites. Usually Warthog's character is a military driver. This time it's a serial killer named Cage. This ending is eerie AF, by the way.
Calypso went to work right
I like his voice, too.
And as a bonus, he didn't just operate on my head. He gave me a new pair of hands. They would become my trademark.
I don't know, I'm obsessed with this character, dude.
Everyone would know it was me.
I'm obsessed with Cage. He's like, his voice is so freaking calming yet intimidating. His eyes are glowing red for no apparent reason, which makes me think Jebediah the Preacher. He was not possessed by a demon, but that of Cage was possessed by a demon. The demon was not a figment of Jebediah's imagination. It was Cage who was the demon. But anyway, yeah, this character I like a lot. He's really cool. His voice, the freaking ending is eerie. Like, I love it. And the voice actor, I wish he would have gotten more roles. His name was like Joe Hershaft. He's actually commented on the video. And I'm like, God dang, dude, you need to do ASMR. If he ever sees this, hey, tell Joe Hershaft to start making YouTube videos and do ASMR. Like Cage doing ASMR, talking about how he's having mental issues and shit, and he pushed somebody off the building or some shit and then cried about it. You know, but anyway, back to this. Twisted Metal Black is my favorite game. The characters are great. The gameplay is challenging but not impossible like the first game. It's a lot more forgiving compared to it. Twisted Metal Black is my favorite Twisted Metal game, and it was great. Now, I'm going to talk about Twisted Metal Head On in a minute, but first I'm going to mention Twisted Metal Harbor City again. Twisted Metal Black was supposed to have a sequel called Twisted Metal Harbor City. It was supposed to be kind of like, I guess, GTA in a way. There was missions, there was interconnected cities leading to different locations. There was some characters. They were going to bring back Pit Viper, which I was so happy, but then I'm like, oh wait, because the game was canceled, you know? They were going to bring back Pit Viper for Twisted Metal Harbor City, but they had to scrap the game. Like, man, Pit Viper deserved better. Twisted Metal Harbor City looked like it would have been much better than Head On. They should have made Harbor City instead of Head On. But I think part of me wants to think, Head On, they made Head On in favor. I'm like, man, Harbor City would have been great. They canceled it. But there is a leaked build of a more complete Harbor City. And I kind of hope they freaking release it one day and make it playable on the emulator. Because I don't know what the fuck a PS2 dev kit is, but I've seen gameplay. Oh, if they ever freaking fixed the game completely. Oh my god, I love Twisted Metal. They should have made the game, but anyway, it got canceled, so they made a Head On. Head On was great, though. It's my third favorite. In the entire series, Twisted Metal Head On is my third favorite. The gameplay is fun. It's a little bit easy, to be honest, but it's not too easy. Sometimes it's hard depending on who you're playing as. The PS2 version is probably the best. The PSP version is great for what it is. It was originally for the PSP, but when they put on the PS2, they show, not only did they include the head-on, but they also had a new level, and they also included a secondary game showing some of the completed parts of Harbor City. They call it Twisted Metal Lost. And they did that because, there was a story about a plane crash that killed 6 of the developers. It was proven to be false. The reason they did that was because they were referencing the TV show Lost. So calling it Twisted Metal Lost was obviously a nod to the TV show Lost. The developers didn't actually die in a plane crash. It was just a freaking thing to cover up that they were making another game for the PS3. Which now we're going to get to the PS3 game. Head On was great though. It's my third favorite. I can't say much about it. The cutscenes are pretty good. I don't understand what they did to Mr. Slam though. Simon Whittlebone. He went from a big fat Swedish Dutch guy to Milton Bottoms from Office Space. But I kind of find that funny. I kind of find it funny. But he should have wished for his stapler back instead of the, I want to be reborn. He should have said, Hey, Calypso. So Bill kind of screwed me over, and when I burned down the building, my stapler burned down with it. So my wish is to get my stapler back. That's what should have happened. But whatever. Anyway, Head On's a good game. I like it. The PS2 version I prefer. The PSP version is a little bare bones in comparison, but it's good. Twisted Metal 2012 on the PS3 is the only Twisted Metal game I have never played. And I don't want to play it. I'm not a fan of the PS3, and I'm not a fan of the game from what I see. The game's single player mode was pretty half-assed just because it was just supposed to be a multiplayer game. Online play was becoming very popular in the early 2010s, but they were forced to make a story mode, and the cutscenes are great, but the fact is there's only 3 drivers, and only one has a really good story, the other 2 are kind of mediocre. That bothers me. Twisted Metal on PS3 just has a pretty lacking, character roster. They have the cars, but only 3 characters. They were going to have the Preacher in there, but they cut it. But Twisted Metal 2012 is honestly, I can't have a good opinion on it because I never played it. But all I can say is, part of me likes some of the ideas. I don't like the racing idea, though. The racing idea is apparently the worst thing they've done. Apparently, the racing part of the games are really bad. I saw a video about Leisure Suit Gaming, now called Face Destroyer Inc. We'll call him Silent Rob, that's who he is. He made a video back in, when Twisted Metal PS3 came out, and the racing sections, yeah, they're fucking awful. He started screaming, and the reason it was like that because the cars weren't programmed to be racing. They were programmed just to fight each other, so having them race and shoot, yeah, it was a really bad choice, and I think even David Jaffe apologized for it. He's like, yeah, just the developer thought it would be fun, and it ended up being a mistake in hurrying the game. Yeah, it did. Ever since 2012, there hasn't been a new Twisted Metal game. Because that game kind of killed it. But I've been hearing so many rumors, and that video I made back in 2020. I was talking about the TV show, I think.
Never happened. I don't think it's gonna happen. But Twisted Metal is my favorite series ever. It literally is my favorite series. Why do you think I call myself Twisted Dark Justin?
Anyway, Justin right there in 2020, he said that, yeah, they were going to make a TV show, but I don't think they're making it. Apparently they are. They're still making that thing. I heard that, it's going to be on Peacock, so that's interesting. I also heard that there might be a new game in development. That's what I heard from Kongdu, but I don't know. I'm not gonna believe any of these freaking announcements or rumors until there's a trailer to show okay, so this is real. But this video was made in 2020. I was like, I want Twisted Metal back. It's 2020, that would make it better. Yeah, about that. It's been about 3 years, 2.5 really. Yeah, Twisted Metal still has yet to come back. But when it does, I am just gonna be so freaking... Oh, it's gonna be great. I love Twisted Metal. It's always been my favorite series. I've always liked it. I even admire the Twisted Metal Lost Endings from the first game that they put on the Head On Extra Twisted Edition. They may be corny, but damn, they were pretty charming looking back at them. David Jaffe actually did make a live reaction to them. But you know what David Jaffe did? He freaking said, oh, members only can watch this. I'm like, you bitch. I'm sorry, David, but did you really have to freaking do that? I can't afford to I don't want to pay membership just to watch that video again because I liked your commentary, dude. Why did you do that? David Jaffe, seriously. Honestly, David Jaffe, I'm starting to question if you're really one of the false idols, because I've had enough false idols as it is in the last year, so I'm wondering if you're one of them, bro. I've seen your controversial takes, but enough about that. Twisted Metal is a great series. If they make that TV show, I don't think I would watch it, because I don't think I have Peacock. Or maybe I do. I know my dad has a streaming thing, but I don't watch it. But I don't know what to expect. They've been talking about this TV show. I really don't want to watch a TV show. I want a new game, and I'm sure they're gonna make one. If that TV show is made, they're gonna make a game. I don't know, but bottom line, Twisted Metal is my favorite series ever. I've been replaying Black. I'm, been going back down memory lane with that game. I haven't played it since I was doing those live streams that had to cancel because, bullshit. Yeah, but Twisted Metal, my favorite series. I've been replaying Black lately. It's a good game. I'm a lot better at it now, and that's that. Twisted Metal is my favorite series, and I do like the characters. That's one of my favorite things, is some of the characters and the stories, even the ones that aren't really made to be a character. I like to think, I like to use my imagination. Like with Moonbuggy, like I said, an evil alien emperor who's like the anti-version of Quattro, or like, like Piecemeal being a mad scientist, or Trapper being a hunter, and I just like using my imagination. Or like some of these characters, like the hidden characters in Twisted Metal Black, they're very mysterious. Like Cage, who the fuck is he? Where'd he come from? Why are his eyes glowing? I'm still thinking maybe he's underneath real demonic possession. Jebediah wasn't, but he is. I don't know, because he's a guy who kills people. He kills people, but he feels remorse. Like, why is that? Like, if you're killing people and you keep doing it, why keep doing it? If you feel bad, don't do it. I don't know, but I love Twisted Metal. I'm just Snark signing out. This is just me talking about Twisted Metal again. I've made a few videos about Twisted Metal on this channel, and I really do want the series to come back. Since 2020, I was talking about, oh, I want Twisted Metal back. 2020 sucks. And yeah, 2020 still sucks. Like, that was the worst year, hands down. Last year was pretty bad. 2021 was pretty bad, too. But 2020, nothing compares to that. That was the worst year ever. A lot of people agree with me, too, but Justin Dirk signing out. Have a great Twisted day. So tune in my rest of my videos, and follow me on AO3 and, fanfiction.net. That's mainly where I post my stories. I'm working on a story right now that's about this character right here named Vinny. It's kind of like a tribute to a cat I had named Vincent. And yeah, if you notice, some of the pictures do change over time. You could guess why. There's Marlena. There's the main villain, Alonzo. Like, I do change the photos sometimes, depending on what I'm doing. So, if you see different photos up there, you can only make guesses of what I'm writing or what I'm doing. Yeah. Anyway, this is me rambling, talking about Twisted Metal. Have a great Twisted day, and I'll see you in the next video. And whatever you do... No! No! What are you doing with Black? No! Yeah. Let's go, Black. It's time to come home.